Welcome to episode 4 of the Daniel Dargan podcast. It is good to have you here, my friend. We are on a roll. We have no Let's Go Espresso today. It is 12:51, and that made me go, is past the cutoff, or your boy would be staring, counting sheep for hours, and we ain't about that life. So we're going to get into it. I'm excited. So what I've done this week, we're going to do something a little different. And if you're watching, yes, I know we have a different setup here. If you're watching, we have a different setup here. If you're listening, nothing crazy is going on, but we have a wee bit of a change of scenery. So in this episode, we're going to run through a Q&A. So I put it out on my Instagram, questions. I haven't seen the questions yet. I screenshotted them all without looking, sent them to my girlfriend, and she sent back a list of questions. Hopefully, the perverted ones. Well, you know what? Nothing wrong with a perverted question. Every so often, if you look through my Q&A, you'll find that. You'll absolutely find that. We have the best community built on IG. If you follow me on IG, I appreciate you. Absolute weapons. But there are definitely a few perverts in there that would definitely buy my socks for a bag. And I'm saying that because I've been asked for it. Anyway, not the point. Let's get into it. So, let's look at the first question. What's a quote you go by? Knowing is not enough. That's not the quote. That is not the quote. This is the quote. This is the quote. Willing is not enough. We must apply. Knowing is not enough. We must do. Pretty sure that's Johann Wolfgang. Maybe pulled that name out of my hole. Probably did. But it's so true. You know how to improve your life. You know what's going to get you to that next step. You know what's going to build that house. And that house being your identity that you want to become this year. You know what to stop. But it's doing it. And it's whether we have enough pain that's going to push us to do it. We have all the information there. We live in an era. We live in the modern day. It's really never been a better time to live. We have information at our fingertips, but yet people struggle more than ever. And why is that? So it's not that the information isn't there. We know what to do. It's actually applying that. And that's why I always talk about the difference between cynicism and positivity. And stay with me on this because it does look around. And I think positivity gets a bad rap because it's connotated with woo-woo, with snowflakery, with living in fairyland, and that's not how I see it. It's choosing a perspective which benefits your life without the naivety. Because when we're positive thinking, we're forward thinking, we think with vision and not from a place of circumstance. We don't let circumstances make decisions for us. And then when we're forward thinking, we're going to take risks. We're less risk averse. And the greatest way to guarantee for you to never fail in life is just to never take risks. But what happens when we never take risks and we never fail? We never succeed at anything. If you look at your life, let's do that. So you look back in your life at the times that you've learned the most, those hard lessons which have really shaped and sculpted you as a person. You got one? Yeah. That was probably a difficult time. My favourite teacher in school, Mrs. Fenton, she won't be listening, but if she is, I appreciate you. Lisa Fenton, big love. So she was my history teacher from GCSE, A-levels. And she had a massive impact on my life. Now, if you listen to the first couple of podcasts, you realise I didn't really apply myself in school, but that's not the point. She was an amazing woman. She went the extra mile. She cared when other people didn't. She just wanted to see me win, and I don't know why. Maybe she's seen something in me. Who knows? But I was getting myself worked up one day, and she said, Daniel, life throws curveballs at you. Life throws curveballs at you. But it's how you react to them that shapes you as a person. And it's true. You might wake up tomorrow. You might get bad news delivered. You might get fired from your job one day. you might get broken up with. Some things that just aren't out of our control, but it's how we react. That's what shapes us as a person. And I always say that the goal isn't to not feel the emotion. The goal is to accept it for what it is. It's a feeling, and act how we need to act anyway. That's going to move us forward. She had a massive impact on my life. A huge, huge impact on my life. But that was the biggest thing that I took from her. It's always going to throw curveballs at us. But what are you going to do about it? Because the cost of procrastinating, the cost of doing nothing, the cost of not taking a risk is the life you could have had. It's Naval Ravikant, I think he says, true hell is when the person that you are meets the person that you could have been. And how scary would that be? How scary would that be? Denzel Washington has an analogy in line with that, procrastinating and living the life that you could have had. And the analogy, it goes like this. Imagine you're standing on your deathbed. You're lying in your deathbed. And standing around you are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. The ghosts of the ideas you never acted on. The ghosts of the talents that you didn't use. And they're standing around you, disappointed, angry, and upset. And they say, we came to you because you could have brought us to life. And now we have to go to the grave together. So my question to you is, how many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes? And the beautiful thing is, you have full liberty over that outcome. You have full control. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. We're all laid out a deck of cards, some better than others. But how we play the hand, it's down to us. And there's something beautiful in that we have full agency over our life. So, yeah, Mrs. Fenton, big love. You're the GOAT. I appreciate you. If anyone's listening to this that goes to Ballyclare High, by the way, that's still in school, let me know if she's still teaching. And, yeah, if she's in, tell her I said big love. Okay, what aftershave do you wear, big lad? Oh, I'm a bit of a slag for bouncing about. I am not a loyal king when it comes to my aftershave. Every other facet of life, for sure, but not here. I am wearing, it's an Arabic scent. It's called Shag Raf Oud. I was wearing, for last year, was the Louis Vuitton Ombre Nomade, probably the best scent you will ever find. It is unbelievable. You go to London, everyone smells like that, right? Everybody smells like that, but it is so good. But get this one, it's much cheaper. Shag Raf Oud. Banger. It's like a gold bottle. Trust me, it slaps. Okay. Was it hard to give up the career you were planning to do? What you're doing now? Was it hard to give up the career you were planning to do for what you're doing now? Yeah, absolutely. But hard things are worth having. I set out, for anyone that didn't listen to the first couple podcasts, I set out, sorry, if you didn't, what are you doing? What are you doing? Come on, get your act together here. But yeah, in the first couple of podcasts, I talked about how I left school, I worked in Topshop, and then I was on a venture to become a commercial airline pilot. I moved to Dublin to do my airline transport pilot's license. I was, gosh, what age would I have been? 18, 19? I would have been 19. And yeah, I thought that was what I wanted to do. I got further down the line. I realised it actually wasn't. And I was staring down the barrel at 40, 50 years in a career which wasn't going to fulfill me. And yeah, that was difficult. And how I actually ended up leaving it, it got so bad that because there was such a big financial commitment involved. And during that time, I started drinking heavily. I was partying a lot, burning the candle at both ends. I was studying hard, but I was partying big time. And it got to the stage where, you know what, like I just took a spiral mentally. I started to take a big dip. I became very, very anxious, and I'll never forget like going into shops, and I genuinely could not. I couldn't go in the shop. I could not go in the shop. I remember sitting in my car one day, literally just crying, tearing up because I couldn't go in. I wanted to get a Lucozade and a protein bar, and I couldn't. And when I say I couldn't, it was like something was just standing on my chest. The anxiety was mad. Like I wanted to talk, but like nothing was going to come out. And when I look back at that, that's crazy. That like I am still that individual the shell that I live this existence through, I am still that guy. But what a different quality of life that was. So things got bad, and they just got from worse to worse because I didn't tell anybody. And I suppose that's maybe a flaw of mine, that I don't open up about those things, but it's definitely something that I'm working on. Are we better? Yeah, I would say so. Because you know what, I share a lot. I share a lot with you guys. But things got worse. I didn't tell people about it. And I got to the stage where, unfortunately, I tried to take my own life. You know, and I know that sounds heavy, but that's exactly what it was, and that's perfectly normal for me to talk about now. I don't see that as a really touchy subject, and I understand that is for other people. But yeah, that's where it got to. I just didn't see a way out. You know, I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to live another day. And is it hard to look back on that? Yeah. I think if that version of me was sitting here right now, you know, I would feel sorry for him, for what he's going through, because I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And nobody should go through life and feel those feelings. Nobody should go through life and experience that. And what I do now is largely so that people don't have to go through that. People don't have to get to that low place that I got to, so that they can empower themselves. And when people say empower, I feel like it's very wishy-washy. So that people can understand that they've more in the tank, they've more in the locker. And when I did try to take my life, I stopped the partying, stopped the drinking. I'm not teetotal, but I did stop for quite some time. I really knuckled down, smashed the gym. I understood that, you know, I have full agency over how I feel. I took control of my life. I ended up leaving flight school because, you know, I just was not in the mental headspace to go back and commit myself to that. And I also realised that it's not what I wanted to do, and the cat was out of the bag. And yeah, I was left in the abyss. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Put two and two together. Eventually found fitness. And yeah, I explained that in the previous podcast. But yeah, started out in the gym floor. Then moved online. But was it difficult to change? Absolutely, because I built this up in my head that I was the guy who was going to become a pilot. I was the guy who was crushing. I was thriving. And I listened to a podcast once, and it really hit me. It really got me. And I'd ask myself, do people love me for who I am or for what I do? And I came to the conclusion that people love me for what they do. And that might not have been true at the time, but that's how I see it. And then I had to ask myself, do I love myself for who I am or for what I do? And I love myself for what I do. And I realized, wow, that's something like I cannot go on like that. I attached my whole identity to that career. So yeah, I had to strip everything back to the bare bones. But that's why, like, I've no shame going on talking about these things. I've no shame bouncing into a blue bin in my boxers, my hair's all up the left. I don't care. There's no shame, because I see that as an ego death. There is no lower than I could have gone. So everything else aside from that is a bonus. So yeah, was it difficult? Of course, I did feel a level of shame. I did feel embarrassed that I'd gone back, and people now thought I was this failure, and I was starting a career which wasn't seen as lucrative. And yeah, I just put my absolute all into it. I burned the boats. I went all in on this career, and I knew that I knew that something was gonna become of it if I just did not stop. I put absolutely everything, blood, sweat, tears, and when I started coaching, I wrote out how many people I wanted to impact within the first year, how much I wanted to make. I would put out how many followers I wanted to have, because I started posting videos. And I know that sounds very superficial, but you need to have something in mind. And yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy ride. But I want you to remember that you need to operate from a place of fulfillment and not security. And I know there's people disagree with me on that you don't need to be fulfilled in what you do, because I understand that there's fulfillment in other aspects of life. You can not be fulfilled in your career, but you can also come home and be extremely fulfilled in your family life. I understand that. But for me, personally, I didn't want to go through life not loving what I was doing every day. I understand that it's a large proportion of our day, so why would I want to commit that to something which didn't fill my cup up? And if it doesn't fill my cup up now, what's that going to be like in 40 years? because these things usually get worse with time. These things usually compound. And if you're sitting there and I understand if you're doing a career and you have a family to provide for, it's not as easy just to leave your job like that. I absolutely understand that. But what about starting a side hustle in the evening? What about taking the weekends and putting some time into something which is a passion of yours? And who knows, that passion project could come to fruition and could end up making you an income, and it could end up becoming your main gig. But as I said, if you don't take a risk, you're never going to fail. Yeah, but you're also never going to succeed. And we want to operate from a place of fulfillment and not security. Because at the end of the day, like, we're all going to the same place. We're all going to the grave. And I don't want to go down with regret. I'm the kind of guy that wants to touch the fire to realize it burns. So whatever it is that you want to do, if you're doing a job that you don't love, what's the worst that could happen? You end up back where you are now. I met a guy in the gym once. He was 47. He worked in law. He was a solicitor in Northern Ireland. And I said to him, how's it going, mate? You alright? And then he says, nah, just struggling on. And he said, I think it was just small talk. But I said, what do you mean you're struggling on? Fill me in. And he said, well, I'm getting up and doing a job I don't love every day. How's that for struggling on? And I said, okay, well, what do you not love about your job? And he says, there's nothing I like about that. And I said, okay, have you anything that you do love? Is there anything which, if you could click your fingers today, that you would love to work as? And he said, oh, I'd love to be in media. I'd love to be involved with the news. I would love to be in that. And I said, well, okay, what's the prospect like of leaving that? And this guy had no kids, lived on his own, and like, he had money behind him. I understand that's not the case for everybody, but this guy, it was a big risk. It's all he ever knew. I asked him, well, why don't you leave the job? Why don't you apply elsewhere and see what happens? Even if the money's worse, if your fulfillment's higher, then, I mean, is that not worth everything? Is that not priceless? For getting 50, 60, 70, 100, 2, whatever, no matter how much it is you're earning, if you're not fulfilled, there's only so much money can put a plaster over a bullet wound. And he said, I've been doing that since I was 17 years old. And I said, listen, you're only 47. What does the prospect of another 20 years look like to you? And that was that. I seen him 3 months later, and he'd left his job. He'd left his job, and he'd got a job in BBC. Now, I was like, oh my days, I couldn't believe it. This was only 3 months later, 12 weeks. He must have, like, that's why I said, I was like, mate, you literally must have just went and acted straight off the bat. And he says it literally just triggered something inside of him. He went off, and he had a friend that worked in there, and he applied and he got the job. He says, I'm making less, but I've never been happier. And he thanked me, and that was just an off-the-cuff conversation. I didn't think that impact could be had, and I suppose there's a lesson in that never discredit the impact one can have on the many. Never discredit the impact one can have on one. Never discredit every interaction, because that interaction alone can change somebody's life. That can change the trajectory of how they live their life. So don't forget that. Okay, next question. Thoughts on the keto diet, or thoughts on diet, i.e. keto, vegan, etc. So if I'm being brutally honest, I mean, I've tried keto. It sucks balls, man. It sucked so bad. So when I was 17, I left school. And I used to think, for some reason, do you remember back in the day, it was like 2016, do you remember the guy like Nick? I think Nick Garner was his name. He blew up on social media, and this guy was like known for having like the chiseled jawline. And this guy was a handsome dude, right? He was a great looking fella. And he was the it guy, the poster boy. And I just wanted to be like him. I thought, okay, I had a dead trim back then. I was pretty small. I was built like the side of a fiver. And yeah, I thought if I have a chiseled jawline, then, you know, I'm gonna be an attractive guy. And I was obsessed with having this chiseled jawline, and looking back, it's so funny when I think about it. But I thought I was fat. I was like 80. I was like maybe 80 kg. I was not fat whatsoever, but I thought I was fat, and I kept telling myself this. And I got to the stage where I just started running. I was like, I need to lose weight, so I started eating chicken, and lettuce every single day. That's all I would have had. And any of the Top Shop girls that I used to work with, you'll know that some days I was coming in and had 10 almonds. I would have had 10 almonds up until lunch. Then I would have had chicken breast and lettuce, and then I would have came home and had chicken and beans, and that's all I had for, I don't know, it was a long time. It was maybe like 6, 8, 12 months maybe. And that I lost so much weight. So I went from 80 kg, I went down to 67 kg. I was like skin and bone. I was skin and bone. There was nothing to me. When I look back, I can't believe how I let myself get like that. But it became a obsession. I was running 5Ks every morning, 7 days a week. I would have came in from an after party and went straight out running. I was obsessed with having this chiseled jawline and being conventionally attractive, which is crazy, the impact that social media was having on me back then. Now I couldn't care. Like, of course the appearance is important, but I don't outsource my validation to the world now. And that might sound mad from a guy that's on a podcast and puts out Instagram videos every day. But yeah, it's kind of sad when I look back on it. But anyway, I would have researched, before I put anything in my mouth, I would have researched, do almonds make you fat? Do beans make you fat? I literally became obsessed with this. And my mates, I'll tell you, I used to, if I was going out on a night out, I wanted my face to look chiseled, and I wanted to look lean, so I would have not drank. Bear in mind, I wasn't weight training at all. I was just running and not eating anything. I would have went, if I was going on a night out, I would not have eaten anything the whole day, bar like maybe a bowl of cornflakes. Nutritional king, I know. And then I would have got to the night out. I would have smashed like a half bottle of vodka at Prees. I would have passed out, and my mates would have sent me home in the taxi before I got into the club. Or I would have passed out and been sick before I got into the club. That happened so many times. And I just didn't know my limit. And bear in mind, there was no food behind me, so it was inevitable, you know. But by doing that, I understood. I eventually got to grips with nutrition because I researched it. But I actually tried keto, and it sucked balls, man. It was awful. So of course, if anyone doesn't know, the ketogenic diet, it's very little, up to 50 grams, sub 50 grams of carbohydrates to none. And anyone that has done that, you will know your energy is absolutely zapped. So carbohydrates, it's contributing to energy production. Essential. If you want to live a happy life, you're cutting out bread, pasta, pizza, you're cutting out muffins, toast, everything. Cereal, fun. So everything is gone. And I was sitting just having, oh man, it was trunks. I was just having chicken and bacon and nuts. It was, my energy was absolutely tanked. So no, definitely would not recommend it. And people think, you know, of course you need to cut out carbs, and yeah. When you store carbs, for every gram of carbohydrates, you're going to store 4 grams of water weight. So of course, when you're consuming more carbohydrates, you're going to store more water weight. You might feel or look a little more bloated, and therefore people think they're gaining fat, but you're not. Your water weight will drop off. But people now think, of course, carbs are demonized. They're going to make us fat. So, of course, that's how ketogenic, etc. came about. If you do want to lose fat, it does not matter if you're on a ketogenic diet. It does not matter if you're doing 5-2 Atkins diet, if you're doing intermittent fasting. All that is to restrict the calories that you're consuming. So you're consuming less calories than your body needs. Therefore, you're in a deficit of calories. So you're going to lose body fat. And a lot of people think as well, I mean, people say fat is like, it's your sweat. Your sweat is your fat crying. I keep people say that. And one of my clients, he always says it. He's like, Dan, the fat's crying. Makes me laugh. But yeah, anyway, so it's not It's not fat. When we're losing fat, we exhale it as carbohydrates, as carbon dioxide. So yeah, fun fact for you. But no, if you're gonna go on a ketogenic diet, you're definitely a pervert. You're up there with the guys that ask for the fake pictures. So no, absolutely not. There's no need for that whatsoever. Just make sure that what I would do if you are looking to lose body fat, I would go online, get a calorie calculator, put in that you're wanting, of course, to lose diet. There's a guy, it's very, very simple. You can go through, type in James Smith calorie calculator, because it's very easy, and I'll give you an explanation for that as well. James Smith calorie calculator, and it'll be quite conservative calories as well. Take that calorie target that it gives you for fat loss, nail that for 7 days. After 7 days, if the weight hasn't dropped, then either increase your steps by 2,000 or then just drop the calories by 150 and go from there, and rinse and repeat. Keep doing that until until the weight starts dropping. Again, it's the average across the week that counts. Don't shit the bed if you're up in weight one morning. You maybe just need to go to the toilet. Okay. Right. Next one. Top 3. Ooh. That's mad. The guy that I was saying, damn, the fat's crying. This is Mike. Mike Burton, Positive Messages, the GOAT. He's one of my clients. He's an absolute legend. So, Mike, this is actually an interesting story I'll tell you about Mike. He's such a good guy. So, Mike came on board with me last August. One of our guys from England. And Mike, he owns a company. He owns a company he runs special needs schools education. He's an absolutely incredible guy. But yeah, he owns special needs schools over in England. Does very, very well. And when I had a call with him, I thought, mate, you can articulate yourself so well. I knew he'd been like posting videos. It was either to his friends or something like that. He'd done it every so often, like posting like positive messages, him out talking to his friends or some of his colleagues. And he told me that, and I thought, mate, that's unbelievable. I was like, you need to share this with the world. Like, you need to put that out there. Anyway, so I told Mike to do it, and my brother implemented this. We're now in February. He has not missed one video since like August. Social media has grown by thousands and thousands. He's since done public speaking gigs as a result of people seeing the videos. He has gone on BBC. They done a full bit on him for like 5 minutes. They came up, videographers, journalists came up and met him, wanted to hear his story. It was unbelievable. And he's now headlining an event in his local town at a cinema. He's headlining the event. Unbelievable. So yeah, just shows you what can happen when people might say it's luck, but like you really do create your own luck. You knock on 100 doors, someone's going to answer. Mike was knocking on doors. Someone might ask, oh, well, how do you end up getting your own public speaking gig? He put himself out there. What is marketing? Is more people seeing your shit. If you are running a business and you want more leads, you want more eyes in your business, you need to put more content out there. Very simple. And it's a case of reps. I always say this. It is just reps. Doing something for a month and expecting returns, it's not going to bring you the output that you're after. And I suppose that's important. Like when it comes to anything that we do in life, if you want to get into incredible shape, if you want to build a successful business, if you want to be confident talking to girls, that's the output. Okay, so what's the input? If you're clear on the output, we need to get absolutely razor sharp on the inputs. What things do we need to do? What action steps do we need to put in place that's going to get us there? If we want to get a six-pack, great. We need to make sure that we're in a calorie deficit. We need to make sure that we're nailing our food 7 days a week. We're nailing our steps. And we're making sure that we're not going overboard at the weekends. We need to make sure that we're weight training 3 to 5 times a week and we're getting stronger every single week. Those are the inputs. We just do that consistently and the output will take care of itself. I say to my clients, you nail the input and don't even worry about the rest. Don't worry about the weight. Don't worry about the result. It will take care of itself. It's like with the business. If you show up your post, if you want a social media platform to do well, okay, you post every single day without missing. And people say, oh no, that's too extreme. That's fine. But if you want to be average, do what everybody else is doing. If you want a normal life, do what normal people are doing. And if you want an extraordinary life, do what extraordinary people are doing. You need to do extraordinary things to get extraordinary results. I understand if you want to live a normal life, if you want to be average, that is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I want everybody to be fulfilled and happy in what they're doing. But somebody out there, I know you'll be listening to this podcast and you'll want more. Like you'll want more from your life. You know there's more in the locker. You know there's more in the tank. But you need to do different. To get different, you need to do different. And that might be staying up a couple of extra hours, staying behind in work. That might be not going out for 3 months and really dialing in. That might be nailing your food 7 out of 7 days, 4 months. And people might think that's extreme. That's okay. But we're talking about extraordinary results here. We're not talking about average. Because if we look at anyone in any realm, they have became obsessed. It's an obsession. And that's what it needs to be if we want great. And we also need to look at not only what they've achieved, but if you're looking at someone thinking, I want that. If you're looking at someone and thinking, I want what they've got, are you willing to sacrifice what they have to be in the position that they're in? Are you willing to sacrifice the late evenings watching Netflix? Are you willing to sacrifice the nights out on the beers? Are you willing to sacrifice the takeaways? Are you willing to sacrifice those things to get to where you want to go? Because it's so easy to say, I want their life, but do you want everything that comes with it? We can't just choose one part of that person's life. We have to take everything that comes with it. Like if you look at Cristiano Ronaldo, if you look at Michael Jordan, people, I'm sure there's so many, thousands and thousands and thousands of young kids in America want Michael Jordan's life. They want to be the basketball player that's worth millions. Top of the NBA. But they wouldn't want what comes with that. The lack of social life. They wouldn't want the lack of friends that he has because of the personality and the obsession that he has. So ask yourself, when you're on pursuit to be like someone, to obtain what they have, are you willing to sacrifice what they've given up? Because when I started out on this journey, the fitness journey, I've posted videos as well. I understood that something had to give. I understood that in order for one area of my life to flourish, I needed to empty the tank. Some other facet of my life had to suck. So I think it's a really important lesson. Choose ahead of time what you're going to suck at. If there's an area of your life which is flourishing, but you want to push hard, if your area of your life is flourishing, say it's your social life, but you really want a hard push in business, you want a successful business, and you really are in that building phase, accepting ahead of time that your social life is going to suck, that's going to make it so much easier when it does, as opposed to getting down the line, pushing the business, and then realizing, oh, I haven't socialized, I've been out on the beers in a while, and then clawing back. Whereas if you just keep going and keep emptying everything into the push in the business, and understanding that the lack of social life, that's not a poor side effect, that's just part of the journey, it's going to make it so much easier to accept. Because your expectation, the experience is dictated by how your expectation meets reality. And if you expect for the social life to take a hit so that you can push forward in business, then that's okay. It's going to make it so much easier to accept it when that one particular facet of your life falls. And that's what I did. I accepted that, okay, I'm going to make a big push with business, big push with social media, because I want different. I am sick of being a failure, and I wanted to throw the kitchen sink at it. But I accepted ahead of time that area of my life was going to take a hit. So what are you going to allow to suck this year in order for one area of your life to thrive and flourish? Don't get me wrong. We don't need to do this all the time. But if you want extraordinary results, it takes throwing the kitchen sink at it. And we only have a finite amount of energy, whether that be in our personal life, with our relationships, with our friendships, with business, with our fitness. And it's okay to not be pushing 100% all the time. That doesn't mean you need to, that doesn't mean if you're pushing business, your physique needs to take a massive hit. Absolutely not. But it might not be your sole focus, and that's okay. That's okay. That was a tangent and a half. I didn't even answer Mike's question. Okay, so top 3 greatest achievements so far, brother. Big love. Big Mike, man in the house. Top 3 greatest achievements so far. Wow. climbing from the depths of despair that I was in. Climbing from the depths of despair that I was in to where I am now. And I'm not saying I'm in a position where I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in an unbelievable position that I'm never gonna get hired. No, like I'm still on this journey. I'm still learning. I'm still a novice in this thing we call life. But I'm leagues ahead of where I was. I was in a dark place. I was anxious. I felt like I just didn't know where to go with my life. And I feel like a phoenix that I've risen from the ashes. And yeah, your boy burnt. But I definitely rose from the ashes. And that was a big, big achievement of mine, to get from a position where I was depressed, I was suicidal, to a position where I'm content with my life. And like, am I happy all the time? No. People say, how are you happy all the time? No, I'm not. Of course I'm not. There's days where I'm grumpy. There's days where my mood isn't firing all cylinders, and that's okay. That's fine. Because expecting to be happy all the time, I think that's really naive. I think that's a bottomless pit that you're going to keep digging. You're going to keep digging, and you're not going to get, like, eventually, yeah, okay, for a while you might be happy, but what I want you to think about, when it comes to happiness, this is what I want you to think about. When a car cuts in front of you, you might get angry. But the next day or the day after, you don't remember that. You don't still hold that feeling, do you? That feeling of anger? No, because it's a feeling. It passes, and you move on. Happiness is the exact same. It comes and it goes. It goes up and it goes down. And I always say, what goes up comes down, and what goes down comes up. So if you are in a position where you are in a low, if you're in a position where your back's against the wall, keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting one foot in front of the next, because what goes down will come up if you keep moving forward. But just expecting to be happy all the time, I think it's going to make your life a lot harder than it needs to be. Because why would you, like, where does it say, what rule book does it say that we should be happy all the time? And can you imagine if an alien came down from outer space and it was their first day on planet Earth, and we told them, you're going to live for 80 to 90, 100 years, and you're going to get to experience all of these emotions. You're going to get to experience happiness, sadness, fear, anxiety, stress, euphoria. How lucky we are to get to experience all of those things. We live a life where we get to experience all of these feelings. How amazing would that be from someone coming from outer space and getting to tell them about life and how we live it? How much of a luxury that actually is. And on those days where you are sad, like, that's what makes us human. That's how you know you're living. That's how you know you're a real human being. So I don't strive to be happy. I strive to be content with what I've got, and I'm continuing to move forward in those pursuits, in my fitness, in my relationships, and in my business. Will I change my mind on that someday? Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But that's achievement 1. Achievement 2. That's actually a good question. I've never thought of it. Achievement 2. Oh yeah, of course. The public speaking gig I done in September to 200 fitness professionals. That was a big achievement of mine, especially from someone that couldn't go into a shop, to speaking on a stage in front of 200 people. That was a surreal moment, and it was a real moment of reflection as well. And that should really, that inspired me, you know, that if I can do this, what else can I do? And that's why I wanted to put out that message to other people, that if I can be in a position where speech and articulating my thoughts coherently was an issue for me, and I'm now doing it in front of 200 people, what can you do? And I'm not saying that I conquered the world, I'm not, but that was a massive feat for me from someone that really struggled beforehand. But if one area of your life you're struggling in, you struggled before, and you came over that, didn't you? So why is this going to be any different? And I'll never forget that. That was that was an incredible memory for me. And I wasn't even nervous because I asked, I genuinely, I kind of wish I was, because I think it sounds bricky when someone says, "Oh yeah, I wasn't nervous at all." But it's not. That's not the case. It's when I spoke about that ego death before. Nothing worse could have happened than what happened to me years ago. Nothing worse could have happened. So if I go up on stage and I make a dick of myself, great, happy days. The next time I do it, I'm not going to make that mistake. And the next time you make any mistake, great. It's going to be one less fault that you'll have down the line. And that's how I want you to approach life. That's how I want you to approach mistakes. That's how I want you to approach failure. So that was number 2. And number three is making my mum and dad proud. Probably making my mum and dad proud. Because I feel like after going through what I went through, I definitely put my mum and dad through a tough time, for sure. Even when I was a kid, I was a wee ball bag, probably. I definitely was a wee ball bag. My mum and dad always said I was really disagreeable. Like, I was really stubborn in my own ways, and I don't think I've changed. I definitely am still really set in my own ways. But I probably give him a bit of a hard time. You know, and growing up, my older brother, he was always thriving in what he was doing, and you know, like, part of me, like, if I'm being really honest, I probably never said that out loud. Like, I was probably a little jealous. You know, was probably a little jealous. I maybe felt like a little bit of a failure, and that's okay. That's okay to feel like that as a kid. But when you get older, I feel like, okay, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? If I felt like a failure, okay, maybe I was. Maybe I was. So what are you going to do about it? Again, the goal is not to not feel the feelings. The goal is to learn how to act anyway. So building a business and hopefully inspiring other people to do better. I think my mum and dad are proud, and I know they've told me that since. So that would be a big achievement of mine. You know, I feel like I had not a bee in my bonnet, but I just wanted to make them proud. You know, I wanted to feel like out of my older brother and my younger brother were doing great. I wanted to be someone that they could be proud of, which I know they always are, but that was big for me. You know, so next question: how big are your feet? What a pervert! What a pervert! I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, the likelihood that you touch kids is probably a 12 right now. How big are your feet? Can you imagine? I went on. Imagine a girl put up a Q&A, right? That was a guy, by the way. That was a dude. Imagine a girl put up a Q&A, and I slid into her Q&A and said, "How big are your feet?" I would get screenshotted, put on the story, and publicly humiliated, probably tarred and feathered, never to be seen again. But these guys, they're getting away with it, man. They're getting away with it. But no, they are funny. Like, I actually don't care. I know people get worked up with that. I'm not arsed. It makes me laugh. I'm a size 10, by the way, and trying to think if there's anything you can deliver a pair of. I'm looking for a pair of Birkenstocks, fluffy ones on the inside to wear while I'm working. I'm not going to give you my address, but you can deliver them to Ballygally Spar. I'll pick them up. You can leave them under the name of Daniel Dargan. You could be a pervert, but if you want to sort me out a pair of Birkenstocks, greatly appreciated. Size 10, thank you, mate. Big love. Okay. What is your favourite tune? Oh my god, easy. Okay, so this song, Eargasm, and I play, and so before I went up on stage, that's like I was playing that. It's called Experience by Ludovico Einaudi, and it is an experience, and that's like a soundtrack that I have this in my head. Like, you know, when you're driving down the road and you're playing music in your car and you feel like you're in a music video. That's what I'm like. I'm that guy, right? He's looking out the window being like, making my way down. Yeah, that's me. But this song, Experience, it makes me replay my life, and like the starting off slow, then there's the hardship, and then you see the light. It's unbelievable. So like even just pause this, right? You know, give it full permission, man. Pause this. Ludovico Einaudi, Experience, full whack, put headphones on, and just sit there and close your eyes. Trust me, it will be an experience. It is unbelievable. And yeah, it just makes me feel something. It puts the hairs on the back of my neck. I was never into classical music. I was into techno and getting chinned, but yeah, like this is unbelievable. So listen to it. It makes me feel something. I played it. It makes you remember back before I did my first public speaking gig in Marbella. I played that before I went on. I actually, this is funny. So I actually played it. So my mentor at the time, it was at a mentorship event. There's maybe 60, 70 people there, and he said, like, what song do you want to play during your introduction? And I said, play Experience. And then he said just before I went on, he's like, do you want me to just continue it through the whole thing? And I was like, yeah, dude. I didn't think about it. But the whole time, Experience was playing in the background, and there was people and Experience was playing in the background, but like, it's a really emotive song. So I literally could have been talking about boats and hoes, and people could have been crying. But there was literally, like, some of the girls were like in tears crying, but it's only definitely because of the song was on. And don't get me wrong, of course, like the talk that I was given, it was emotive, and yeah, it was pretty deep. But you could have talked about anything that day with Experience on in the background, and you and you would have been crying, you know. So yeah, you could have had Jeffrey Dahmer spitting. You could have had Jeffrey Dahmer spitting bars there, and I would have been in tears. I know the Experience. It is far. It's so good. Okay. When did you realize you had to switch your lifestyle, and how did you do it? Have I answered that one already? No, I haven't. No, I haven't. My girlfriend, she's in the room. She's listening. Okay. Yeah, that was a hard one. I was almost forced into that. I would love to say that was complete agency. Well, I suppose it was in a way. Yeah, when I was going through flight school, I realised that's not what I wanted to do. I'll give you spark notes. I realised that's not what I wanted to do, and I was partying. Of course, spiraled into depression, tried to take my life, and I think I delved into that in one of the previous questions. Did I? Yeah, I probably did. Dementia is setting in. Yeah, I dove into that in one of the previous questions, but when that happened, it was no longer about me. When that happened, it was more than me. It became about my family, and it became about, like, it became, I never wanted to put them through that again. So it became, the external accountability was off the charts. So I was forced into a corner where, you know what, like, I had to change. There was no option. And I suppose it really is true where, like, the pain of change has to, the pain of where you're at has to outweigh the pain of change. I think that's a quote. Maybe it's not. Who knows? But in other words, where you're at has to hurt so bad that you're forced to change. And they hurt so bad that I had to change. My back was against the wall. And see, when your back's against the wall, I don't know if you've experienced this before, but when you're literally against the wall, you're in the weeds, you're against the ropes, you're in fight or flight, and like, you are obsessed. You will do anything. You will run through brick walls to be better, to get to where you want to go. And that's exactly what I did. I switched, and the lifestyle switch, which you're talking about, I just stopped partying. I stopped drinking as much. As I said, like, I'm not teetotal, but yeah, I give up that life. I switched my lifestyle for my family, and of course it was for myself, but I was obviously in a position where I didn't want to change, or I maybe thought I couldn't have changed. And that's one thing that I want you to do. I want you to give what you're doing meaning. I want you to give your training meaning. I want you to give your personal development meaning, and I'll tell you what I mean. Pardon the pun. You might not want to train. You might not feel like it. You might tell yourself the story that you're busy. But who loses out when you don't train? Who loses out when you don't eat healthy? Who loses out when you don't look after yourself? You know who loses out? The people close to you, your friends, your family, the people that believe in you the most. They're the people that lose out when you don't look after you. And the quickest way to be selfless is to be selfish, is to fill your cup up first and help other people from your overflow. And the reason why I go to that beach, the reason why I get in that bed every morning, It's not for me. Of course, a part of that is a huge part of that. But a big part of that is because I know, and I've told myself that I have a responsibility that I put on myself for other people, because I know that there's going to be a 19-year-old Daniel that's sitting on the end of that phone waiting for a video. He might not be in a position where he's feeling himself that day, and that video might encourage him to go to the gym. It might encourage him to eat a healthy meal. And if I don't do that, I'm being selfish. And that goes for anyone that's making content. Put the responsibility on you for other people. Tell yourself it's selfish if you don't. Tell yourself it's selfish if you don't go to the gym. Tell yourself it's selfish if you don't eat a healthy meal. Because if you're not going to do it for you, do it for other people. And if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, find somebody who will. Because it's okay to let yourself down. You can tell yourself that story, but it's not okay to let other people down. And that's the power in coaching. Again, a lot of my clients, they have the knowledge, they know what to do, but it's the accountability that on the days they don't feel like it, having someone to push them forward, to hold them to a higher standard than they hold themselves. People have the knowledge, but it's, are we willing to apply? So I had to switch my lifestyle. I didn't have a choice. But I want you to remember that change, it takes time. If we're in a stressful situation and we're hardwired through repetition to then choose cheap dopamine, if we're stressed and we choose to eat shit food, if we're stressed and we choose to pull the plums off ourselves, if we're stressed and we choose to drink, we've hardwired our brain. And anything that can be wired can be unwired. A habit built can be a habit broken. But it takes repetition. It takes you showing up when you don't want to. It takes falling down and getting up, time and time again. And every time you get back up, you are making progress. It doesn't need to be linear. But the next time you get up, the further you go before you fall down again, that's progress. I don't know anyone that's just got to the top without making a mistake. And 2, 3, 4 years down the line, that's how long it's taken me. Then those habits are firmly cemented into who I am. So expecting it to be easy, expecting it to happen overnight will make it a lot harder than it needs to be. And you don't need to do it overnight. But put one foot in front of the other. Ask yourself, okay, what are the things I need to stop doing first? I spoke about that in previous podcasts. Remove the speed bumps before you even look at the accelerator. Okay, next question. Tips on how to not be freezing the rest of the day after sea dipping. You just need that dog, Kirsty. Kirsty, you need that dog. That dog. It's true though. No, your body's going to adapt to it, okay? So what I would do is when you get out of the cold, if that's a cold bin, it should be a cold bin. Come on, you're part of the family now. Don't be getting in schmoomy bins. Don't be getting in those tubs. You need a blue bin in your life, baby. That's real character. That's how you know you're a real man. But don't get a hot shower. Your body is going to heat up naturally. And when it does, that's going to increase your metabolism. You're going to start to heat up a lot quicker than what you would have. You're going to adapt to the cold. Yesterday, I hiked up the hill behind our house. When I say gaff, I don't know if people in USA wouldn't know what gaff means. A gaff is a house, by the way. Just to translate it, I have a good, like, quite a lot of American clients, and they'd be like, Daniel, what does buzzing mean? What is it? It's hilarious. So one of my clients, he's a public speaker, and I always say, oh mate, I'm buzzing for you, and he says, Daniel, what is buzzing? And I was like, oh, it just means you're excited. And he's like, oh my god, like he says it all the time now. His name is Brian. He's an absolute legend. He'll probably listen to this. So Brian, you're a legend. I love you. And at the start of one of his talks, he was talking for like 1,700 people. He started and he says, buzzing to be here. My name's Brian Brandy. His name's Brian Brandy. He says, buzzing to be here. And he sent me the clip, and I died. I was laughing so hard. I was like, what a guy. So yeah, the lingo We're getting that over to the States, baby. So yeah, as soon as I get out of the bed in the morning, I just dry myself off, put my clothes on, and I get to work. Just get that dog look at me. But yeah, just the first few times you might get the cold. Trust me, keep going back. I know people that get the cold, they do cold dips once and they get the cold and they just don't do it again. You're gonna get the cold, but that's just your body adapting to it. Okay, so I have everything more or less sorted in my life. Well done, bro. Timothy, you're smashed it, man. But sleep, any tips? Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing that I would implement straight off the bat is number one. Here's a few things. Okay, so number one, I said it in those standards. Making sure that you have a waking and a sleeping time. Okay, and we talk about that circadian rhythm. A circadian rhythm is just a sleep clock, and that's essentially your body knowing when to get up and when to go to sleep. If we look at hundreds of years ago, we would have got up when the sun comes up, and we would have went to sleep when the sun was going down. Okay, and that's what I want you to implement. I want you to lock that in firstly. When you're going to get up, when you're going to go to sleep. Hitting snooze, no good. We are not a snoozer here. Within my coaching community, we know there's no snoozers, right? That's number one. We don't do that. Because again, that's just breaking a promise to yourself, and that doesn't set us up for the day. We want to build trust in ourselves, build confidence. So that's that. So waking time, sleeping time, you're going to have more energy in the mornings. You're going to fall asleep later. You're going to fall asleep easier in the evenings. And then, of course, making sure that you don't go on your phone 60 minutes before bed. But then a big one as well is making sure that you don't have caffeine 12 hours before you're sleeping. Caffeine has a half-life of about 7 hours, 6 to 7 hours. So that means it is a quarter life of what, 12 hours? So 12 hours. If you have a coffee at 2 o'clock, at 2 a.m., there's a quarter of that coffee or that monster still in your system. And then we're wondering why we can't get to sleep. So what I do is at least 12 hours, sometimes 13. I know, what a love a bad boy. That's going to be massive for you because you're gonna be able to get to sleep much easier. And then what else I would do from there? I would get a hot shower 45 minutes before I go to sleep because for optimal sleep, our body's temperature is going to drop by at least 1 to 2 degrees. And by getting a hot shower, your body temperature will drop by 1 to 2 degrees to regulate your body temperature. And you're going to get to sleep much, much easier. You know yourself, when you get a steaming hot shower, you come out and you're like, oh my God, I've just dropped the diazepam. Exactly that. Get on that ASAP. And then also there's a supplement called magnesium glycinate as well. You'll be able to relax. You'll be able to get to sleep much easier. It's non-drowsy. So yeah, implement those. There's so many more, but implement those and it's going to be key for you. Also, just make sure that you don't do anything in your room aside from sleeping. That's key. Not everyone can do that, of course. I understand that. But yeah, that's key for us. Let me see. How do you battle the negative self-talk and beat it every time? So I don't beat it every time. I don't. We don't need to beat it every single time. But as I said, like the more you do it, the more you're gonna beat it. Absolutely, you're gonna learn from your mistakes. But yeah, if there's a story we're telling ourselves, again, I'll give an example. I used to call myself lazy. I used to call myself stupid. We simply need more evidence that we're not those things. We need to stack up more proof that we're not those things. That's it. You need to build that stack of proof that you are who you say you are. And people talk about I am worthy, I am worth it. I don't know if I agree about that with that whole mantra that I am worthy. You know, it's people looking in the mirror saying I am worthy. I am like, are you? And this is a genuine question. This is not me having a pop. Are you? Like, I am worthy to be in. I am worthy. I am in shape. Telling yourself that in the mirror and nailing a bag of Doritos straight after. Like, does that line up? It's like, again, I am worthy of having $1 billion. Alex Hormozi said this. I am worthy of having $1 billion. Do you have $1 billion in the bank? No. Well, you're not worthy of it. Then you don't have the proof to say that you are those things. So, if there's self-talk, you need to outwork the self-doubt. I know, so Alex Hormozi of me, but it's true. You need to outwork the self-doubt. You need so much proof, and that just comes through reps. If you think you're fat and overweight, okay, maybe we are. But how can we stack so much proof against it that we become a fit individual, that we become somebody who's in great shape? Because there's too much snowflakery nowadays where, oh no, you're fine, you're okay the way you are. What if we're not? Because if somebody told me back in the day, Daniel, you're okay the way you are, I might not be here. I definitely wouldn't be sitting here recording this podcast talking to you legends. So people will tell you that you're okay, but that's not what you need to hear. You need to hear that you can be more. You can be built for more, for greatness. But you need to prove it to yourself. Because talking only gets us so far. It's this proof through the reps, the hard reps. That's when it counts. And we don't win. We don't become the guy in great shape once we finally get to 15% body fat or 10% body fat, or we finally get a six pack. That's not when we win. When you win is when you're questioning, shall I get into the car on a Wednesday night when it's raining outside? I've got a leg session to do. I don't want to do it. I've had a long day at work. That's when you win. When you don't want to write another essay, but you have to. You don't want to write another essay. You've done 12 hours already, but one more is going to make the difference. That's when you win. When you decide to go the extra mile. So it's okay to have negative self-talk. It's okay, but you need to stack proof against that. And you'll start to see that there's no truth to that. But it starts from you not continually saying, I am stupid, I am lazy. It's okay to have negative thoughts, but it's not okay to continually belittling yourself. Gosh, a mouthful there. So if you're constantly putting yourself down, maybe change the way you're talking to yourself. Because that might have an impact on your actions. Because that's compartmentalizing you as that thing. And you're built for more. I know that. Okay, random one. But do you and your partner ever talk about your ideal wedding in the future? Yeah, we do. We have. Tia, she talks about it a lot. She's actually looking at me right now. Tia talks about it a lot. Tia always talks about kids and about getting married. And yeah, like we have those conversations. I've definitely been hesitant in the past about having those conversations. I don't know if it's I wouldn't say a flaw of mine. I would say that's just part of who I am. The thought of those things scares me at such a young age. But I suppose that's part of life. That's part of life, and again, you have to take risks. You have to be forward thinking. Like people, you get asked yourself the question is, what if things don't work out? But what if they do? What if they do work out? And I'm sure Teal have an answer. Teal have an answer to that. She's probably shouting, "It will, it will." Oh, she's laughing. But yeah, I mean, for sure, we do. Absolutely. Right. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's all of the questions. Yeah. Let me just double check. How do you know? Okay. What is your favorite song? What landmark says Belfast to you in an instant? I think this is the last one. Castle Street Smicks. That's it. If you're from Belfast, you will know. If you're not, get to know. Castle Street Smicks. It's the junkies on Castle Street. They are icons. You're an icon. You're a legend. You're the moment. So, ladies and gents, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. Someone asked the question, testicles. Thank you, mate. I appreciate you too. Get well soon, mate. But yeah, listen, thank you for listening to episode 4 of the Daniel Dargan podcast. A little bit of a different one. We have some exciting episodes coming up next, so definitely stay tuned for that. Yeah, what's coming up? What's coming up for me next? I'm going to London next week, and then I'm heading off to Amsterdam, and then we are going to Poland. I'm sure you probably already know about it. You're probably sick of me talking about it for the Wim Hof expedition. And then we are going on tour. We're going on tour. USA. We're taking the States, baby. So stay tuned. Big love. Thank you for listening. And as a wise man once said, let's go, baby. If you enjoyed the episode, please follow, like, share, subscribe, the lot. And enjoy your day. Big love.